everything for me kind of started in my childhood. I was about 8 when I started having abdominal uh, pain that was severe and chronic. And my parents had an HMO insurance plan, so we required a referral to see a specialist. But my primary wouldn't, and she told my mom that I was just a whiny child.
Oh no.
And so my parents had to change insurance companies actually to get me to see a GI specialist. And they were particularly concerned because they knew there was a chance that I may have inherited familial adenomatous polyposis from my mother. Um, it's an inherited disease. It guarantees colon cancer at an early age. Most people, it's in their 30s. Some of us younger, and it has all kinds of other risks that it comes with, other cancers, other manifestations, and things like that. So they got me to a GI specialist, and she immediately did upper and lower scopes and genetic testing. She found out my pain was because I was pre-ulcerous from stress as
Okay.
a 8 year old.
Oh man.
But then the colonoscopy and the genetic test confirmed that I had FAP. So within a year, I had to have my colon removed because my polyps were starting to turn cancerous.
Okay.
And I had complications though soon after. So within 2 weeks, I had to go back to the ER because my incision, which had healed up pretty much, was infected.
Oh no.
And the ER doctors, they gave me a shot of morphine in my thigh, but that was not enough. And they didn't give me any anesthesia. And then they proceeded to cut open my incision so that they could clean it out. Um, and that was pretty traumatizing.
I bet.
um, and then a couple of weeks later, I started having severe abdominal pain again. So my parents took me back to the ER, and the doctor there did an x ray. It didn't show anything, of course. X rays don't always show everything.
Hmm.
And the doctor sent me home, told my parents I was just a whiny child again. And those
Again.
were the exact same words that both of those doctors had used with my parents. So they took me back again the next morning, and a different doctor did more thorough testing, and
Mhm.
they found that my small intestine had wrapped around itself in my surrounding organs.
Oh man.
It cut off my blood supply, so it had killed my J pouch for my because I had a temporary ileostomy that was going to be reversed um, into a J pouch, but it killed my J pouch, and the doctors told my parents it was a miracle that I'd even lived through the night. So then I had to have emergency surgery, and then I would have two more surgeries within that whole span of a year besides the emergency one. Um, so I had five in 1 year, and from all of this, and then I was left with what was believed to be a permanent ostomy. So I was traumatized, and I was angry, and I was depressed, and I was suicidal, and I was homicidal against anybody that I blamed. So my parents, my doctors, I got bullied in sixth grade. So the bullies, it was just I didn't have any coping skills.
Hmm.
Um, but when I was 14, I asked to go to counseling, and I started to process everything and help deal with my depression and everything. And it was actually about a year later that they tried to reverse my ostomy into a straight pull through, and it was successful. But then a few months later, I started having complications. I was vomiting all the time. Um, I have short bowel syndrome because of my having part of my small intestine removed, the part that had died. And so I was with my straight pull through. I go to the bathroom 20 times a day, but during this period, it was like a liter at a time.
Right.
So all my lab values were just crazy, and I was always in the hospital just to try to get those realigned. And because of my short bowel syndrome and what was going on there, I actually developed a hole in my small intestine. And instead of trying to do another surgery, my doctor she put me on TPN, and I couldn't have anything by mouth. I couldn't have any candy or anything,
Hmm.
and I was like that for I don't even know how long. I remember I had to build up to being able to have 1 ounce of ice chips once an hour to 1 ounce of water once an hour. I could,
Hmm.
And then when I got to eat again, I had a fried egg once a day for breakfast.
Hmm.
Then I got to build up to a bland chicken breast with rice for lunch. And so it was torture.
Yeah.
But I did that in combination with hyperbaric treatments, and it healed the whole. I have an ulcer there still that I have to manage with a PPI, but so far, over 20 years later, it hasn't made another hole.
Hmm.
So I avoided surgery for that. But so during this entire time, I'm going through all this medical testing, trying to figure out why I'm vomiting and why I'm going to the bathroom so much. And they did all kinds of tests. They did them on repeat. I went out of state, I was in state, and it was just all just nonstop. And so finally, the last resort was to do exploratory surgery, and that's when they found I had a stricture for my adhesions, and so they had to remove adhesions again.
Okay.
So it took a few years to kind of stabilize everything, and then I had my last surgery, my eighth surgery was in 2021 to remove my gallbladder, and so about 2.5 weeks after surgery, I started having this debilitating pain, and it was about from like the top of my shoulders, and it went all the way um, down into the top part of my hamstrings. It didn't the kind of the middle portion of my stomach didn't hurt, like the
Okay.
only part.
Hmm.
But so I was bedbound for about 16 hours a day, and I would force myself to go to work. And it took 6.5 months and 7 specialists to figure out that my pain was caused by abdominal migraine, which had started evidently in 2015 when I hit my head at work. I fell and hit my head. Because after that, after I had fallen, I started having chronic nausea and increased pain, but I was able to manage them with some medicine.
Mhm.
And the surgery, though, to remove my gallbladder, it exasperated it. So now I'm on medications and I went through physical therapy, and now I can actually do activities. So it's been a lot better, but um, it was it was really hard, and so my depression got kicked up again, which it does every few years. And so I've been in counseling again for the last year, just
Yeah.
kind of trying to manage everything. And then all of these things happened. In high school, I decided I wanted to help people with their chronic illnesses because I didn't want people to go through what I went through, physically or emotionally. And so I entered into medical social work, and it's what gives, helping others to deal with their chronic illnesses, um, and helping them learn how to navigate their healthcare and everything like that. It's what gives me purpose.
Mhm.
Is what makes things worth it for me.
For sure. And I have a strong suspicion that's through FAP is how you met Kevin.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
All right. Well, what do you want to tell me a little bit more about what it is you do to help other people?
Well, so besides professionally, then in my personal life, I have devoted the last 10 years to rare disease advocacy. I started a blog, Life's a Polyp, in 2012, and it
Hmm.
focuses on my life with FAP and short bowel syndrome, but also just kind of education and empowerment. In 2015, I started the NORD FAP Research Fund. And so now I also do fundraising for that. I actually just I had a meeting with NORD last year about what we could do to do more for the fundraising for it, and I just heard back, and they were like, we could do these different things, and we could really get it funded maybe this year. And I was like, but so, and then when my dreams up, I didn't realize it was a dream, but evidently it was. I wrote a children's book about FAP, and it was published last year in 2022 for Rare Disease Day,
Wow.
and that was really cool. And so, part of the FAP Research Fund, I started a shop that has FAP designs, rare disease designs, chronic illness designs, to help fund it also. And so I've branched out from just a blog to doing YouTube and social media and things like that, doing podcast interviews, and just really anything that I can think of to help spread awareness
Hmm.
and also help people find that empowerment so that they can better navigate their healthcare, especially if they're a disease, because it's just it can be life-saving to know how to navigate it. Unfortunately, that's the case. Whether
It
it
can
is
be
easily.
life altering and life saving just to know you're not alone, right?
Absolutely.